Trevor Collins grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and was a pretty athletic kid, playing rugby, basketball, baseball, track, and was also a martial artist doing taekwondo and jiu-jitsu. He had his first clue he was colorblind when he was a little kid, when during an Easter egg hunt, he couldn't find the green-colored Easter eggs in the green grass, even though they were right in front of him. But he didn't realize he was actually colorblind until he took one of those dot tests for fun.
And I was like, oh, yeah. These don't have anything. And Mom's like, oh, come on, this says 27 in there. I'm like, what? No, it just says nothing. And the doctor's like, my God.
Alright, so let's do a quick lesson on sensation and perception, because I've seen lots of fans say, whoa, Trevor's colorblind so he can't see color. Whoa, that's not the case, because there's lots of different types of colorblindness with different degrees. The way that it works is that in our eyes, we have these color receptors called cones. These cones pick up different wavelengths of light, meaning that they pick up different colors of light. And there are 3 types of these color receptors: long wavelength cones, which pick up red light, medium wavelength cones, which pick up green light, and short wavelength cones, which pick up blue light. Every color you see is a combination of long, medium, and short wavelengths of light. Basically, every color you see is a combination of red, green, and blue light. And the more types of these receptors you have, the more combinations of colors you can see, and vice versa if you have less. But if you're a normal, bog-standard human, then you have these 3 types of color receptors, and they function normally. So normal people are called trichromatic. Tri referring to the 3 types of receptors, and chromatic referring to color. If you only have 2 types of color receptors, then you're dichromatic, which is what dogs are. Trevor is what you would call an anomalous trichromat, meaning he does have all 3 types of receptors, but is deficient in one of them. So either deficient in the red type, green type, or blue type of receptors, with the other 2 functioning normally. Basically, this means that he can see colors, but can't distinguish as many colors as normal people, since one of these types of color receptors isn't working properly. Specifically for Trevor, he has deuteronomy, also known as mild red-green blindness, meaning the medium wavelength receptors, the green color receptors, aren't working properly, so he has a hard time telling the difference between reds, greens, and yellows. I learned that when I took a class on psychophysics, so having a psychology degree finally paid off, so yay me! When Trevor was a kid, he learned about the Mars rover missions, and since then he was fascinated with space travel and astronomy along with exotic cars, and was interested in studying aerodynamics and fluid dynamics. So he went to Purdue University to get a degree in aerospace engineering with a minor in entrepreneurship. And during his time in university, he worked at GE Energy and GE Aviation, where he designed airplane parts.
There's engines in flight now that have components that I helped design.
Look at you.
Hopefully they're still flying.
I worked on Spy Kids 4.
Better. Did you really?
That's cool.
That's so cool.
That's so much cooler.
And what's really cool is I was able to find out which planes have his parts, and I actually managed to find footage of one of them. So here's actual footage of one of Trevor's planes in action, so please enjoy. And while he was doing his engineering thing, he also studied entrepreneurship because he wanted to start something of his own. And one of those things was video creation, where he wanted to make community videos for Achievement Hunter. He first heard of Rooster Teeth many years ago when a friend introduced him to Red vs. Blue. Since then, he was a huge fan of Rooster Teeth, especially shows like Red vs. Blue and the old Rooster Teeth shorts. And like the Rooster Teeth crew, Trevor was a natural comedian goofball, constantly causing trouble simply to make people laugh. So he wanted to bring that humor to the Rooster Teeth fanbase, and in around 2012, started making community videos under the name Reached, which he got from Halo Reach, one of his favorite games of all time. Like most community content creators, he made videos like Things to Do's, This Is, and Easter eggs, but he also made an original series called Custom Creations. Being a huge fan of sandbox games where you can build your own experience, he created the show to showcase creative fan-made maps in video games. And during these videos is where he first met Jeremy and Matt, who were still just fans at the time, and they started collaborating to make videos together.
What's up, guys? This is Reached and Axiomat.
That is I, Axiomat.
That is you, and
right.
I am I.
You are
so
you. Okay,
this is Custom Creations this week. You made this.
And more importantly, he got to know Caleb Screen-Looking Denacor, the community manager at the time, and built up a relationship with him, which would be super important to him in getting a job in the future. Although Trevor worked with Jeremy a lot, they never actually met in person until RTX 2013 and 2014, where he became good friends with Jeremy and Kat.
Yeah, nice little video going on here. That is freaky.
This is really weird, but it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And a couple months later, Jeremy and Matt were invited to work with Achievement Hunter for a week, and were then hired on the Achievement Hunter panel. And Trevor said he was congratulatory, but I mean, he was probably a little jealous. But a couple months later, in mid-November 2014, it was Trevor's turn to work with Achievement Hunter, because like with Matt and Jeremy, Achievement Hunter was short on people. With Ray and Jack being in Australia, and Michael and Gavin working on Laser Team, they really needed extra help. So they contacted Trevor, who then flew down from Indiana to Texas to help out with editing for a week. And when he got there, he once again got to work with his friends Matt and Jeremy, who were now full-time. And like Matt and Jeremy, Trevor fit in really well, and the Achievement Hunter crew really liked him. So when Trevor left to go back home, they were like, alright, let's hire him. So Trevor flew back to the Achievement Hunter office, this time as a full-time employee. But the choice was actually really difficult on Trevor because it all happened so quickly. Because there were some special projects they needed working on, which we'll get into later, they needed an editor ASAP. So they told Trevor that he needed to leave his home, leave his family, basically drop his entire life and move all the way to Texas within a single week. And what made it even funnier was that this was in mid-November, meaning Thanksgiving was coming up. So all of Trevor's family traveled there to see him, and when he got back he was like, hey, I know you're all here to see me, but I'm leaving, so bye. And then he packed up and left, and on November 17th, 2014, Trevor Collins officially started as a full-time employee at Achievement Hunter. Trevor was originally hired to run the community channel and edit, but quickly rose in the ranks. And since working at Achievement Hunter, he became the lead editor, eventually becoming the manager, started a podcast, came in his own mouth, and started banging Barbara, which is pretty neat. But by far, his greatest accomplishment was working on a super amazing, super successful channel called Game Kids, which was actually the main reason he was hired. The deadline for starting Game Kids was coming up real quick, and they were nowhere near ready. So they were like, ugh, just hire Trevor, Trevor will do it. So they launched Game Kids, which was a channel that was about playing games with kid-friendly banter and shenanigans. Basically, just imagine Achievement Hunter, but family-friendly and with kids. So yeah, it was a thing. It was definitely a thing. But the reason they started this was to appeal to young kids, who at this point were starting to watch Saturday cartoons less and less, and YouTubers more and more. So they made shows like Sim Sisters, Bro Gaming, and Kids Crafts, with hosts like Brainy and his sons, Caleb and his brother, and Millie and Chelsea, with Trevor doing all the editing. It did not work out in the end, and they eventually stopped uploading in March 2016. It became the victim of lots of jokes, especially this legendary one.
Trevor's boss now.
That's true.
Trevor?
Yeah, Trevor.
Game Kids Trevor?
So yeah, even Trevor wants to forget that Game Kids happened, but we won't ever let you forget, will we, Trevor?